I wanted to walk through this. If you guys have this, I just want to look at this for a moment. Barna is a research group, really kind of Christian-oriented, and will do some research and publish them. It's really helpful for church and ministry and stuff like that. And so you got kind of two graphs here. The first one are parents' priorities for the youth program. And so my thought here is, let's kind of understand the mindset of a parent. Like, they send them to the youth program and they advise them to be a part of it. What are they looking for? What are they thinking through? And so what do the parents want from the youth program? You'll see that the top three things they want for their student in the youth program is for them to have a safe space to explore the faith, positive peer relationships, and a place where they can bring their friends. You'll see that darker number is like something that ranked as very important, and then that gray number is it's somewhat important. But those are the top three things. For you guys, does that surprise you? Parents, is that right on? Is that where you sit? Are those your priorities? Would you expect anything different? What are your thoughts?
I would say there's another caveat to this. There are parents who don't really come to church or can't seem to make time for it. Sports can be a big impact. And so, I don't have time to get them in church, but at least they can go to youth group.
Yeah.
And so I think that falls in that, safe place to explore faith. Mm-hmm. But it's a challenge because I think kids who are just kind of, go, but, do as I say and not as I do, can have challenges with that.
Mm-hmm.
What is the experience of that? Like, they'll drop them off, and then the child, the whole time is like, well, I'm an atheist, I don't want to be here, or, and it makes it hard for the rest of the group.
And then you wind up with this interesting dynamic where you have kids whose family have always been involved and have a much deeper, faith to draw on because they've been building it since childhood and it's a part of their family life. And then you have other kids who may or may not want to be there, who don't really know what it's about, and you sing a song about the blood of Jesus and they're like, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting dynamic because you get both in every group.
For sure. I want you guys to notice what's not very high on the list, and it's hard because it sounds like, or it looks like due to this survey, it looks like you can put very important, somewhat important, and there's probably like a not important because there's some percentages missing in there. And so, but down towards the bottom, the things that weren't ranked as high were service opportunities / mission trips, or outreach to teens that don't attend a church. And try to interpret that, and you can only do so much. But what that says to me is parents aren't as concerned about evangelism, which means they probably aren't as willing to risk things in that. For someone who cares so much about mission and people knowing Christ, they're willing to risk some for that, whether it's safety or time or priorities or whatever. Parents in general, it seems, aren't as willing to risk those things, and so I'll give you maybe way too personal example. Not to me, but like to hear. I remember back when we had our Wednesday night Fathom days, we said, hey, we're an outreach. We're inviting kids here. They're going to be kids who probably are up to no good here. But our hope is this is a mission field. We're going to have our students who go to church and know Jesus and are the really good kids be alongside the kids who are a little bit more of a struggle and probably are making out in the parking lot or whatever it is. And we're going to have them coexist, and we're going to ask our students to be on mission. We had a lot of parents who struggled with that, because their main priority wasn't evangelism, it was safety, which as a parent makes sense. But it also is something for us to understand as leaders. We have to be aware of risk in, and what we're asking our students to risk, and what our parents might be comfortable risking in. And also you might see just a lack of importance on service opportunities or mission trips. I think parents are often very my child oriented, or what's good for my child, and so they may not make space in their schedule for mission trips or serving opportunities if that means neglecting sports or other things they see important to their kids. Just because it's lower on the priority list. They don't hate helping people, I promise. It's just about what's priority to them in their life. But it just kind of helps you get a little bit in the mindset of what a parent may be looking at. That's not all parents, but some. We're going to jump to that next graph. Parents' expectations of the youth pastor. So you see up there your top three discipling teens, helping them navigate friend relationships, and then helping them navigate family relationships. Those are your top 3. And so I feel like most everyone in here, like again, we call you guys the youth pastors because you are the youth pastors. You're the one pastoring the hearts of the students. You know them. You're walking with them. These are their expectations of you. I think everyone would say discipling teens makes sense. We are a church. We're a youth program. That makes sense. What do you guys think about those next 2? Are you guys aware of those expectations that your parents help or expect you to navigate friend relationships? You're helping them navigate their community and tension there as well as their family relationships?
I totally think that way as a parent.
Yeah.
I want this to be a safe place where my son can meet a girlfriend someday, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I know that sounds maybe that sounds wrong to say, but
it worked out for me.
If I were but if I were to pick a place for my son to have a first, relationship, I would much rather it be and that's where I found my first boyfriend. So I guess that is just and I would. Yeah. I almost wish there was a little bit more interaction between, the groups, both the boy and the girl groups, because I think it's an important place where they can begin to safely learn under supervision, how to navigate more mature relationships.
Yeah.
Well, and created by God, we do have them together for that reason. Yeah. The first part, anyway.
So you emotionally scarred?
So you're really embarrassed. It's so uncomfortable, so uncomfortable. 6th grade, and I was right next to a boy, and I was sitting like this. I was I'm so uncomfortable.
I was surprised by the helping them navigate family relationships. I guess I feel like teenagers don't talk about family life as much, but also I think I kind of worry I don't want to step on parents' toes, or I don't know if they want me to know this information, and so that was surprising to me to see that so high up on the parents list.
Especially in high school when we don't know the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing about the discipling, I think that is really important for us to be doing. What I've been trying to do is to invite the parents into the life of the child. Okay, so after we have a small group, I'll text them I'll set up a small group with the parents, and I will text them what we're talking about, and really invite them to talk to their child, because really we get them, a couple of hours a week. Okay, and they're, at home, it's an opportunity for the parents to engage in the conversation with the child. I haven't had many parents come and say, oh man, that's awesome, we're having these really deep conversations. But most of the kids that go home, and like mine do, I say, hey, what y'all talking about? Oh, nothing. We play basketball or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there's an opportunity to kind of open the door for the parents to have that conversation. Yeah. And I think that's discipling. So it's not only us, it's really to invite the parents into doing that.
For sure.
That's an idea.
That's really cool.
Related. See, I just think I spend 72% of my time disciplining.
That probably made the list somewhere too. Yeah. What's cool about this is, sometimes we were thinking how do I talk to parents, or what do I say to them, or what are they interested in? This kind of tells you what they're interested in. So if you're figuring out how do I even interact with these parents, or if I see them out and if I want to share something of value to them, it sounds like they're interested in their teen's spiritual life. It sounds like they're interested in how they're doing friend-wise. It sounds like how are they processing what's going on at home. And parents would probably love to hear any of the things. Oh, your student shared with me that he's really excited that he feels like he's got a best friend and he's doing really well. And then I feel like that's really comforting for a parent to hear. Or, he's struggling with his sister right now. He recognizes that he doesn't have patience for her. He keeps trying, he doesn't get it, but he at least is aware. And for a parent to hear that, hey, someone's walking with him through that and whatever, it sounds like, hey, if you're looking for ways to speak to parents, to speak into their lives and let them know about the parents, those kind of top 3 things tell you what they're interested in hearing. The bottom 4 speak something different. So you see, warning teens about drugs and alcohol, teaching teens to use media safely, talking about sexuality and dating, and helping teens determine a career. These, and maybe not always, but they seem to kind of have a foundation in fear. I don't want my kids to drink or do drugs. I'm afraid they're going to view things or be engaged in things that are unhelpful to them. I'm afraid they're going to have sex or end up getting too involved emotionally. And I hear from especially teenage boys' parents, I don't know if he's motivated or if he's going to do anything, if he's even thought about the future, much less a week from now. And so a lot of these things kind of seem very fear motivated. This next paragraph I'm going to read is kind of a summary from all the data taken from here. That's kind of gives us an interesting perspective from parents. It says, this is half of a sentence there. It says, the idea that teenagers are broken, deficient, and in need of help. This is some perspective of parents. If they're in these years where they're kind of broken, they're not fully functional, they're making bad decisions, and they're deficient in some area and need of help. We problematize teenagers and use significant resources to try to fix them. This narrative evokes fear, and in loving response, parents are desperate to keep them safe. I'm not saying that we live in a danger-free world. Of course, there are real dangers. What I'm saying is that teenagers are more than problems to solve. They have potential as human beings, and surely God sees their potential in Jesus Christ through the work of the Spirit. And so I think a lot of times we are fearful of these teenage years, whether it's in the church or as a society or even as parents or as people. And we approach them as problems to solve. How do we get them motivated? How do we keep them safe? How do we give them better friends? And there are problems to solve in that mentality. It's just saying, how do we keep them from these things? How do we help them live into these things? How do we help them live into their potential? And I think that's something for us as leaders to keep in mind, and an attitude that we help parents remember. Because parents, it almost sounds like when I first read that, like, parents are bad people. But that's not what it's saying. It's saying parents love their kids so much they worry about them. And they need help remembering that there are good things in store too, and not just to keep them from the bad things. So any way that we can encourage parents to say, hey, I know you're worried about this one issue in their life. Let me tell you all the incredible ways they're living into their potential. I think that's got to be incredibly important. In these past 4 days I've considered being a parent, all I can do is worry about the what ifs and the things down the road. And so I think Hank got in here, he's talking about things. The wedding, I was like, how do I start saving for a wedding now? Like
6 years old.
I know. It's going to take that long. But I naturally go into like worry mode. Like I'm already like, how do I fix this problem of lack of money or lack of time or whatever? And so I think reminders to enjoy and appreciate are huge for us in that realm. A few things. We only have about 8 minutes in here. I just wanted to run through with you guys in this realm of partnering with parents. Hank mentioned it earlier. Parents have about 3,000 hours a year with their kids. Think about morning times, after school, night. That's a lot of time. Granted, not all that time is valuable, and probably be less valuable if the students had it their way. Like you mentioned, students not necessarily aren't the most conversational and always share. A whole bunch of those hours are spent cleaning the house or doing chores or doing homework, but they have a lot more time. Whereas if we had 15 Sunday nights a semester and 2 hours apiece, we have 60 hours in comparison. So they have about 50 times more hours than we do. And so if we can somehow partner with parents and include them in this conversation, we are leveraging all that time they have to make the same impact. And if we're partnering together, we're hopefully multiplying that impact. Not just us, but it's us and them. So if we can inform them on things and include them on things, that makes a huge difference.
I think that I did not know, when my girls came back the first year talking about how great B-Teaser was, but until I was part of it, I didn't get it. So I think parents would love to know what happens at B-Teasers. I think they'd love to know what we talk about in small group, because their kids are not going to tell them. I mean, let's be serious.
Yeah.
If they hadn't gone, they'd be like, that's awesome, and that's all they'll But like, and I really hope y'all are doing it again. The survey that you did, when you had everybody turn in the cards and then stand up, that was like revolutionary for the kids. I mean, they were like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one who feels this way.
Yeah.
So I think, like, giving those statistics to parents, by the way, we poll all the kids, and this is what, those kind of things to me are like conversation starters with the kids versus just, back to school retreat was great, I want to go back. You know?
Great and also mean a whole bunch of things that no one knows.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then they talk about the fun they had in the pool and then things like that, but so much is done during the small group time and during the praise times that, we took a mosh pit up there, and I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
When the praise music comes on, so that I think that the parents would love to hear that kind of stuff.
I'm fully with you, and there's some level at which we try to figure out how do we communicate that as a ministry, because we want to inform, we want parents to get that information, And as I'm thinking through this from now as how we pastor, I think part of that, we hope that you guys take the burden to communicate, because you can do it personally. Like, not they just won't get information, but they will get information about their child, their one. How did he process the weekend, or how did she process the weekend? Because you're right, they're going to hear good and great and pool and sleep and throwing and whatever it is. And for you to say, hey, I saw him going from being standoffish to really comfortable in worship throughout the weekend and really engaging with the Lord, carries a lot more weight from you, and you guys can speak to that personal level. And so I don't know if that's a text, I don't know if that's a phone call, I don't know if that's, hey, we invite the parents to our house after back to school retreat and we just share with them some stories or something like that. But I think you're right, to be able to share with them, especially the stuff they don't hear from their own students, is huge. I was reading an article categorizing parents and talking about how do we move parents along and get them engaged with us more. I think it's 4 categories of parents. So they're absent parents, informed parents, involved parents, and equipped parents. So you kind of see them absent, informed, involved, they're doing ministry with us, and they're equipped. They feel confident enough to be doing it on their own. They're not just here and listening, but they feel like I have the information, the tools, the confidence to speak into their life alongside with you, to where we're actually partnering with you. We're doing ministry together. What you're talking about with my kid, I'm also aware of, and I'm talking about it with them. And when they need help, they don't just feel your support, but they feel my support in it. And I think it kind of shows this progression of, all right, how do we get to the point to where our parents don't just feel even involved? Because I think that's kind of been our goal in the past, and sometimes even been informed. How do we just get them to know what's happening? How do we not just get them informed, and not just even involved, not necessarily meaning that they're here volunteering, but involved to some extent, being like, hey, I have an active interest in what's happening. How do we get them to where they feel equipped, to where they can continue these conversations at home? What's really hard for me is we have some kids who have really important things happen here, whether it's spiritually or personally or whatever. They've made important decisions or realizations that the parents have no idea have taken place. I even had a student talk to me semi-recently talking about wanting to get baptized, and there's a fear of talking to their parents because they've grown up in the church, and my parents are going to think I wasn't a real Christian and things like that. And what they didn't know is their parents don't care. Like, they're going to be so excited that they feel close to the Lord now, but the parents aren't even aware that the child wants to get baptized. They're not even able to have that conversation, much less are they even equipped to have that conversation. If the child were to bring that, because there are some parents who don't know what to say next, or don't know what baptism is and wonder why you want to get wet, and all these things. And so for me, it's how do we start going to the point to where these parents feel involved in those meaningful moments, and how do we help them feel equipped to handle those? I think there's some conversations that we can have with them. I think some of you guys who had kids get baptized in the past few years, we used to meet with the students, just the staff, and say, hey, come to our office, and we'll have those conversations with them. I have 5 questions I run through and try to make sure they understand what they're doing, stuff like that. And I said, well, that's fine. I wanted to do this fine, but wouldn't it be better if the small group leaders were hearing their answers? It wouldn't it be better if they heard what the kid is fearful about, or the kid's understanding about baptism, or making sure that the kid understands that the water isn't going to magic, or isn't magic, and isn't going to fix all their problems the day after, and so that way the leader can walk with them through that 3 days afterwards when they realize they're still sinners, and they can walk with them through that deal. And so what if we start adopting that attitude with parents and saying, instead of just us doing the ministry for them or around them, how do we start to include them in that? And obviously you have to process some of that with the students as well, and they have different levels. There's some parents that won't be able to engage in that because either students don't trust them or there's just not a good relationship yet, but there's a majority.
The parents don't understand. Maybe the parent grew up Catholic, and so they had him sprinkled as a baby, and they think that's all that that they're good, they're baptized, right?
Yeah.
And they don't understand the born again concept, that you choose as you're older.
Yeah.
Or I have another one who's one parent was Jewish and one parent was kind of culturally Christian, but sometimes when you're dealing with kids who are coming and the parents are glad they're coming and they're exploring their faith, those parents don't understand Christianity, and that's a really hard thing. Or they're always looking for the perfect time, or and they just don't even understand how to go find the website to help their kid fill it out. And so it would be great if I could use some kind of like a card or a quick reference or something to help me guide that relationship with a parent.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think often these points that we see as tension could also be opportunities. If I had a child whose parent was a different denomination or even a different religion and wasn't confused, I think it's just a cool opportunity to sit down and talk with them and say, hey, I want to hear your thoughts and your concerns, because then they know I'm just not out there and telling their kid whatever they want to hear. They realize I'm a real person, and I can explain to them certain things. They have an opportunity to understand the faith and as we see it, and things like that. So I think those could be, while they're often seen as obstacles, could be opportunities for us to directly minister to the parents and share some stuff with them.
I was just thinking, if you're really trying to equip parents to be able to walk alongside, they need to know what we believe, and that Sunday night Bible study for parents could be huge.
Yeah.
Because they could then maybe even study alongside what we're studying.
Mm-hmm.
That could have great potential.
Yeah.
Get people to participate.
Like a parenting type Bible study where they learn more parenting skills and how to
Or even
help
what
their
we're
child
studying.
implement the faith.
Even what we're studying, so they can then know. Never heard the story of Zacchaeus before, but I don't know.
Be able to engage in conversation at a more deeper level.
You get to your kids more than you do.
Oh, yeah.
But I think too, just having a session like what we're doing tonight, but for parents, it could be helpful where you have breakout sessions on different topics, and maybe even bring in some experts from the Christian community. Share like how do you help kids that are suffering with anxiety or depression, or how do you get to know your child, encourage them spiritually, and things like that.
For sure. Yeah.
For high schoolers, I feel like a lot of these opportunities are hard to hit with high schoolers, just because like their parents don't drop them off, or they don't come to the door, or things like that. And so, and especially like not having kids their age makes it really hard to like find a chance to connect. So I even wonder if like at the beginning of the year if there was some sort of like meet your small group leaders or something, because I just find like if their parents aren't involved here, I really have a hard time actually like meeting them past like sending a text or anything.
Yeah.
Thing.
She wasn't listening. I don't want to call her out in front of everyone. No, so that's why I'll reiterate at the end of.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But that was, I guess I'm kind of confused what that is.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. So our hope is to put you in contact, because you're right. Like the older ones, you don't see. Like I haven't met half of the seniors' parents, if not more than that.
We have kids that like live at our house that I don't know their parents.
Yeah.
Back to school night, but at the church.
Yeah.
At school. Yeah. At the house.
And so we're going to invite parents to that. So that's the 25th. That's after back to school retreat. Part of that reason being, hopefully you get to know your students really well over back to school retreat, and they feel comfortable with that, and they'd want you to meet their parents, or at least you can ask them to meet their parents after that, and they're like, oh, I can know and trust this person because we spent the whole weekend together, and it's easy. But also there's some newbies that will come to back to school retreat. If you get to meet their parents, there's a better chance they keep coming back after that. So we're saying the week after back to school retreat, leaders, if you could be here by 5:45, we'll be in the gym in the fellowship hall. We'll ask parents to come in. If they bring their kids, that's fine too. We just want you to get to meet them, shake their hand, get their phone number. We'll provide some structure from that, so you're not on your own. You don't have to just make up your own conversation with them. But it's just a really cool moment to say, hey, I'm here. I'm really excited to walk with your kid through this. If you ever need anything, I would love for you to call me. And if you don't want to get together and talk, I'm available. And I think that is a huge friend, where at least you get to meet them from then. And if you ever like text them or call them out of the blue, they have some idea of who you are in that realm. So that's kind of the hope and heart of that.
So Carl, we talk about engaging with parents. I feel like a lot of my role is to be available to talk with kids about stuff they don't want to talk to their parents about, right?
Yeah.
And it might not be bad. It might be just, I really don't want to go to Auburn. Or,
Yeah.
That's bad.
or pick it. I don't want to take the ACT again.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Right? How do you
balance that?
Because what happens, it's supposed to be what happens in small groups stays in small groups.
Right.
Yes. So I would say I wouldn't force. We have to get some feel of what their parent-child relationship is like. Because I've talked with some students who are, at least in their eyes, telling their parents even not scary things as a threat to them or a threat to their freedom or their happiness or whatever. And so you don't want to push them into uncomfortable situations that they don't view as helpful, because that hurts your trust with them. And so I think you have to discern one, is it something that parents would really want to know, and what's the risk in doing it? I wouldn't ever tell parents if I was unsure, and sometimes the first step, I think, is encouraging the student to tell their parents. And so, like, with a student who didn't want to tell the parents that they wanted to get baptized, and said, could you imagine being your mom and finding out that your student got baptized in secret and you had no idea, like, and you missed out on that moment? That'd be so hurtful. Like, she would want to celebrate that with you, like, and walking them through that and say, why don't you consider talking to them? And they're like, no, take a week, really consider it. Let's talk back in a week and let's figure out what that looks like. And so I probably wouldn't ever go and do or talk to the parents for the students unless I felt like it was a dangerous situation. And you can kind of feel out the resistance as you encourage them to talk to their parents on their own. I think the good things are easy. I think if you're, hey, I saw your student praying with the other student on the retreat and that was incredible, I don't think any students mind looking good in front of their parents. It's the harder things that you'll have to discern, and really I'd probably talk with the student first before you go down that lane. I don't know, the rest of you guys have advice? You guys walk with students? You guys have kids? Any thoughts? No? Yeah, me neither.
So I'll say, as a parent, on the flip side of that, I want my kid to have adults that they can talk to and me not know.
Yeah.
I had parents and they were idiots.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to them, and looking back, it was coaches or other people in my life I would listen to, and my parents, they're idiots. So
Yeah.
I want that for my kids.
That's part of that natural. That's that natural, like, learning how to be independent component of it. So what about kids whose parents are really unplugged and they barely read the emails and they aren't signed up for retreats and, or maybe they can't afford to sign up for the retreats?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on how to reach out to those?
Engage them. For money, we have scholarships, and so if that's ever separate from relationship, if finance is ever an issue, we have money for that and really want to spend it. We have it for a reason, and so we would love to take care of that for any family. No, you're fine. And so talk with us about that, and really Jean handles that, and she'll meet one-on-one with the parents and walk them through that stuff. What was the first part of your question?
Well, just sometimes
parents that aren't engaged.
Sometimes, there are parents that are not engaged for lots of various reasons.
Yeah.
Whether, there's an emotional issue or a, disability or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever's going on in the parent's life, and they're not signing their kids up, and they're so disengaged that So anyway, it's just.
Yeah.
We have one parent that's got some disability, and
Gotcha.
so it's a challenge.
I think, and you guys probably have done this, I think the best you can do is just try personal contact, and it may or may not work, meaning you reach out to them as an individual and say, hey, just want to remind you that this is coming up, and that may not work, and if there's something else we can do to help you in that, we would love to do that. There are, on a general level, there are several parents, and they're not bad parents, they just have a life, who aren't necessarily interested in what's going on here. People who don't necessarily read the emails or know when to sign up, and that's fine. In their mind, this is one of probably 18 events or 18 programs that their kid's involved in. And I would say that they probably won't engage till they feel like they have a reason they need to engage. Meaning if we step into their life and start sharing with them meaningful information that gives them a reason to start seeking and coming here, or to even start doing things. And some parents just suck at communication. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be one of those. And so
Trying to talk to you. You're strong in that area.
she's phenomenal. Yeah, so good. We're actually out of time in this, and John, I appreciate that you brought up that question, because this is kind of one of the points we bring up. Okay, partnering with parents in youth ministry. It's almost one of the things that we do to counterbalance the gap we've had for years. And so I'm not saying that's the utmost priority, but it's like generally in youth ministry across the world, we've neglected that so much that we want to emphasize it in this moment. It's not by any means a higher priority than for the ministry the students are like themselves. That's our primary purpose in here. But we do want to take a minute to say, hey, at least from up front, we've neglected to say, hey, there is some potential in these parent relationships. Let's focus on this in a minute and figure out how to utilize this. Because this is going to affect the kid, it's going to affect the parent, it's going to affect the family long term. What's cool is some of us will be in these students' life long term. I've seen that happen. I've seen, be invited to weddings, or when they go off to college, come back and get lunches with you, and I think that's super cool. And some of us won't be, but if we can partner with and equip the parents are going to be with them long term. And so the impact that we've generated is going to be around for a long time. And so I think there's a lot of hope in that, beyond what our relationship capacity is in their life. I am past time and everyone else is leaving. And so I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for being here, and don't forget your food.